Hello and welcome to our podcast. My name is Natasha.
And my name's Lauren.
Join us as we discuss all things Neighbours.
And it's unfinished business. Hello and welcome to episode 15.
Yes, hello. Wow. Episode 15. I can't believe it.
No. Yep. And today is a special one because not only are going to be discussing the last 2 weeks of episodes, but this week was my birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thanks. Officially old now. Which means we have decided that I get to talk about my top 5 men.
Well, we all know who number one is.
We do indeed. Or do we? Yes, it's going to be very interesting to see whether you actually agree with my top 5. So, yeah.
Cannot wait to hear them. Anyways, shall we get into talking about the last 2 weeks then?
Yeah, let's go there first before we go to my top 5 men. Right. Oh God, where do we begin? So we ended on the party and JJ covering for Felix. That's where we left things. Obviously Felix, JJ has obviously lied about that, and the Cara and Remy decide that they're like, we don't want you near Felix anymore. Like, this is like too much, basically, too much is going on. And then the party carries on and Felix's girlfriend turns up. I have to say, Felix's girlfriend is so like bogan. Like she's really like she's just like a little wild card. And I'm like, oh, I'm not really sure about you. But anyway, and obviously she turns up wearing the same dress as Holly. Holly obviously doesn't actually realize that Felix has a girlfriend and she tries to flirt with him and ends up getting cake put all over her. So yeah, that kind of like ends the party and it all goes a bit like yeah, tits up. So that was the start of the week. Now, I suppose going on to the big drama of the last 2 weeks and the focus, Krista. Now, obviously we've started to see that Paul has started to like Krista, decided to give the reins back a little bit, and they did connected really nicely in the waterhole with the ultrasound picture because she was like, he said, oh, I never got to see my boys' ultrasound pictures, so she shows him, and then obviously this big drama happens because Chelsea, being Chelsea, has obviously caused problems, tried to manipulate Krista and take over this presentation that she's doing to the rest of the Lasters group, and obviously sends her down to the sauna, and she gets obviously trapped in the sauna and ends up passing out, etc. Yeah, I mean, like, what are your thoughts on like this, like obviously build up to the situation and the way Chelsea's being and manipulating her and like all the little like
I mean, it's escalation, isn't it? Like, she's just been doing so many things, like very naughty things. I mean, I was shocked when she got rid of Josh's memorial plaque. You know, for me, that was shocking. But it just seems to be getting worse and worse and worse and more and more and more serious, to the point now where obviously with that whole storyline and we know what happened, it's shocking. And it's like, how has she been allowed to get away with this for so long? Why has no one really, when she first started dating Paul, Leo was very like, when it was like David's funeral, for example, and she was trying to get involved then, he was very much like, but because he hasn't been around because he was angry at Paul for, bringing Eden into the mix at their getaway and telling him where they were. There's actually been no one around Paul. He's been very isolated, actually. So I think this is, I mean, now that we know that Leo's going to be moving in, I think this is where things turn around. Also, Therese is staying at the hotel as well. So she's close by. So I think this is where Chelsea realizes, oh shit, like you can see it in her face, like, oh shit, like I could potentially get found out here. I need
Mm,
to be a bit more sly, a bit more careful about what I'm doing. Um, but to be honest, it's about time,
yeah.
because this is like what she did to Krista was absolutely disgusting, and
I
the
mean,
obviously the outcome was disgusting as well. Like,
yeah.
how could she
So
do that?
I don't. I'm a bit confused by it now because you see Chelsea. She sees Krista's laptop on the side and she obviously does something to it to ruin her PowerPoint or she loses her PowerPoint presentation. And Krista ends up going to the to Harold's and sorts it out for her. And you can see Chelsea's like, oh shit, she's got it back. So I need to do something now to stop her from
Hmm.
doing the PowerPoint presentation because I want to be the, Paul's number one. I don't want him to be focusing on like anybody else. In the meantime, there's electrical issues happening within the hotel. Now, she, I don't think she obviously sent Krista down to the sauna
Hmm.
as a distraction so that she could get onto the computer.
Hmm.
But surely she wasn't to know
She
that
wasn't
the
to know.
electrical
No,
fault was going to cause Krista to be locked into the sauna.
no, she wasn't. She wasn't to know that. But the fact is that now they're doing investigating and they're blaming it on, what was it, the cleaner? Can't remember her name.
Yeah, the housekeeper girl, yeah.
Yeah. So she's now fully aware that she was responsible for that. And rather than saying, "Oh my God, I sent her down there," so that was indirectly my fault, and it was me. Like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, but I wasn't to know that there was an electrical fault." She
Yeah.
hasn't done that. So
Yeah.
she's allowing now not only what's happened has happened, and she's been the cause of that,
Mm,
um, knowing that there's been electrical faults, but also she's putting the blame on someone else.
yeah.
Um,
And it isn't until Paul then tries to blame Kara, who's obviously her sister, that she then has to go, oh,
the
actually, no,
diversion, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So, um, yeah, obviously going back to obviously this to what obviously happened to Krista, and obviously unfortunately, Remy obviously has to tell her that unfortunately, there's no heartbeat with the baby, so she's lost the baby. And she's obviously going to have to deliver her daughter, stillborn, basically. Um, I don't really know where to go with this. Like I've had friends that have had stillborn babies, and it's really hard thing to talk about. And obviously, there was a lot of talk online about there should have been some sort of warning put out because a lot of people that
Hmm.
obviously this
It's a
happens to.
triggering, yeah.
Um, yeah, and well, I have to say kudos to them for and especially to I can't remember what's her name. What's the actress's name? I can't remember her name. Is it
Oh, yeah. It's
Arella
with
or
it.
something like
Yeah, it's
that?
an M, yeah.
Yeah. And her acting in terms of how a mother would be feeling in that situation because she's like in shell shock. And then she's like, it was when she started panicking,
Hmm.
being like, I can't do this. I don't want to give birth.
Hmm. Hmm.
Make this stop happening. And Remy's like, I can't stop it from happening now. Like, I've given you the medication that's going to bring on the birth.
Hmm.
Um, and the distraction techniques, to
Hmm.
get her like calm down. And
Hmm.
um, yeah, it was a lot. But Paul, like, bless his heart, just during those scenes and obviously now inevitably we've seen a bit further on this week has been a major factor and the turning point for him to get back to being the Paul that I suppose that we know and love
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
know that he can be and he's starting to actually suss out Chelsea's behavior and um yeah, I don't know, what did you think about the whole like when she was having to give birth and all that whole situation and stuff?
I mean, yeah, you could see it that she was panicking, but it wasn't like she wasn't in grieving mode yet, because obviously to her it's, well, I'm still giving birth to my baby.
Mm,
And then for that then to translate and finally it hits where it's like, and I don't know what to make of also the people around her, that they didn't really know what to do or what to say, and they were
mm,
trying to do nice things like, Nicolette trying to do a hamper for her. Has also saying, shall we get like a, is it Has that said
Yeah,
about a photo gift or something?
they had the box to put memories in or whatever.
That's
So
it. Yeah.
yeah,
And I'm just thinking, like, I mean, she might think, oh, yes, they really care about me and that's why they're doing it. They're just doing it because they care. But then also, is it a little bit insensitive? I don't know. Like,
it's really hard when you don't know, you've never been in that situation. You don't know how
yeah,
you'd feel. It's a really hard thing. But I suppose they and their research teams, they work hard with like people,
yeah,
don't they?
yeah. I don't know. I just found that a little bit odd. Not so much Nicolette and Aaron, but Has, that was just, I know that they're living together,
Yeah,
but I can kind of understand Nicolette and Aaron because they have Isla, right? They've just lost David. Um, I don't know. I just feel like that was a little bit more understandable where that kind of, support was coming from.
yeah. I liked that that not David, that Aaron went to the hospital and he was
Yeah.
like, "Is it okay for me to be here?" And she was like, "Yeah, of course," because they've
Yeah.
got that connection with
Yeah.
David.
And that made sense, but you know, Has doing that kind of, I don't know, it just felt a bit odd. And then also just with his whole storyline at the moment,
Yeah.
it just feels like, oh, this is a bit creepy. So I wasn't quite keen on that, but
No.
I guess it's
Um,
hypocritical if I, like one and not the other because it was a gesture, wasn't it?
yeah. But obviously, ultimately, as horrible it is, it's obviously brought her and Leo closer.
Hmm.
I mean, that's again, that's devastating for him because he was talking about, their little family that we're going to have together. He was willing to raise another man's baby,
Hmm.
and move
Yeah.
into a place together.
Yeah.
But obviously, this has now kind of turned it around for him and Paul, and we've seen this last episode that him and Abby have now moved back into
Hmm.
the house,
Hmm.
which obviously now puts a bit of a
Hmm.
um
Spanner in the works.
spanner in the works because Chelsea's going to be like, oh shit, now there's someone else in here
Yeah.
where I can manipulate Paul to the same lengths that I have been
Hmm.
before. Um, yeah, it's all just a bit fucked up, and something major is going to
Mm.
end up going down. Like you say, especially now that Teresa's come back and she's going to be
Hmm.
in the hotel and stuff. Um, yeah,
I mean,
so
I can see something happen to Therese out of Chelsea's jealousy
oh yeah,
because
100%.
when Paul came into the waterhole, didn't see that Chelsea was at the bar and went straight to Therese going, like, where have you been, kind of thing. Um, and when they finished that conversation, it was very quick, very brief. They kind of touched hands
Yeah,
and she saw that. And it might have been an innocent gesture to them, but to
yeah,
her, she's going to massively read into that. So I think the more that she tries to push Therese out, Therese is going to be like, well, why are you seeing me as a threat when we're literally just friends? Like, what's going on here? And she'll probably start digging, but then something might happen to Therese because of Chelsea's doing. She's crazy. So
she is, and we hate her. But like we've said before, that
very,
the actress plays her well for us to hate her.
exactly.
Um, so where do we go next? I mean, again, I think we'll leave the whole Felix and JJ thing because obviously that's topped off the week recently. Let's go into Sadie and Byron. Now, I'm a bit confused because at the party,
It's all
they're
going
like,
well.
but they're suddenly together. I'm
Yeah.
like, how did it go from them at the layout or the lay-in or whatever it was? Nicolette going being like, oh, what's going on here? To them suddenly being like, oh, we're in a relationship. Like it was just very kind of like, oh,
But were
let's
they in a relationship? I think Nicolette commented on something at the party, like, "Oh, you two," and maybe from that party, then decided, "Okay, let's do it." Because
sure.
then afterwards, it was the drama of
Yeah, sure.
Andrew getting involved with all
Yeah.
of that.
But it was really cute though that they did that whole like Pride and Prejudice. Was it Pride and Prejudice thing? Where
I
like he
mean,
had the dress and then they did the little like dance and stuff.
I don't know. I'm like a really big fan of Pride and Prejudice, but yeah, I wasn't so.
No,
Yeah,
they're just so cute though, because they obviously
they
like
are
really
cute.
fancy each other and they're dancing around each other all the time. And obviously then Andrew catches them together, which obviously then has put a spanner in the works.
Hmm.
Um, Sadie tells Wendy that she needs to back off basically because
Hmm.
she's being quite intense. Um, and then Andrew does a really stupid thing and he tells Byron that his tires aren't legal and he's going to have to write his car off. Um, and obviously then Sadie flips out, and she goes
Hmm.
to try and talk to Byron and say, "Look, I get it. You don't want to be the dating the cop's daughter or whatever." And he says, just need to like put on hold for a minute. So already like there's been a
No.
spanner put in the works and like it's been messed up, hasn't it? And it's like, for God's sake, like,
But it's what they're doing, isn't
they
it?
can
It's
you
going to
just
be this,
leave them
dancing
alone.
around each other. They're not going to be able to resist. It's going to get back on.
But
Like,
yeah, because you saw that bit at the end where Byron remembers something that Sadie had said previously about losing her dad,
hmm.
and you can see they're about to get close again, and she pushes him away, and it's like, what are you doing, woman? Just like,
Well, because she's more inexperienced than he is. She's younger. She already felt a little bit inadequate because of his escorting ways
mm.
and his experience there.
I think that tipped
So
Andrew over the edge though, because obviously at the
yeah,
party he's obviously
exactly,
talking to Byron, and that's why
exactly,
him and Wendy had obviously had that very passionate night
exactly.
together.
Um, but yeah, no, it just feels like she's not very secure, and he's rejected her basically, and she's just like, I need to protect myself. So I
Mm,
completely understand where she's coming from. And he's going to have to work a little bit harder because I think it was his decision really.
yeah,
So if he wants her back, then he's going to have to work at it.
yeah. Oh. Okay, so let's talk about Haz.
Oh my
Like,
god,
I'm so confused.
I
So
can't.
obviously we had the video of him supposedly trashing Harold's. Um then we've seen recently that people's phones have gone missing. Um and has been listening to Mac and Byron.
Hmm.
He's put some sort of like tracking or microphones on their phone or
Hmm.
something. Uh, and he's been listening to Sadie and Byron's conversations.
Hmm.
Um Aaron receives this phone call
Yeah,
thinking it's David.
David sounds
And
exactly like David.
yeah, and then Jane uh did this romantic thing of her and Mike, and somehow she gets manipulated and a fake video is made up of her with a banana.
Bananas.
Like, so it's just so odd. You can see when obviously Mac is starting to get a bit sus, and she's in the Harrods with Jane and Aaron, and she's
Yeah,
like, hang on a minute, this happened to you, and this happened to you.
yeah,
Like, what's going on? Something's happening here. And you can
yeah,
see Haz in the background, like overhearing and listening.
yeah,
And she's like, who would do this to you,
yeah,
etc. And it's just like, well, it's obviously him. But like, I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what's going on? Why is Haz doing these things? Like, or or is it even him? Like, it's really confusing.
yeah. But you do see him back in the garden, in his garden, sitting down with the laptop, and it zooms
But
in
yeah,
on Jane's folder. It literally says Jane,
he
and then he
deletes.
deletes it. So if it is him, because that's what I'm thinking, it is him. It's not some
Mm.
evil twin like we thought. Why?
I know, it's really odd.
And there's clearly something going on with his past, because why would he be doing all of this stuff? And we don't actually know anything about him. Like literally, we just knew him as the owner of Harold's now. He's now dating, but then he was a little bit, it felt like he was a bit shady when with the whole Holly thing.
But
Like,
it's
I don't know, I
frustrating
just,
because we wanted Mac and Has to be together for such a long time at the start, And it's like they built up this thing between
And
Mac and
now it's
Harry.
like, no, Mac, run. Red
Finally got together.
flags, run.
Yeah, exactly. They finally got together, and now he's going to do this really shitty thing.
But I think he's been shifty all along. I just feel like the way he handled the whole Holly situation, he didn't act like a gentleman. He
No.
knew that Holly was more interested in him, and he may have still been trying to work out his feelings for Mac, but like he was leading her on, Holly.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you're a decent man, you're not going to do that. I just think he's a bit of a douche, really. And I feel like the more we're seeing of him, you know, and also where's Trevor? Like, you know,
Yeah.
you managed to get Trevor back, all that faff and all that storyline. Where is he? And
Mm.
someone on Twitter, sorry, I'm stealing your like your little joke, but someone said that, you know, it might be to do with the fact that, you know, the sandwiches have got better in Harold's, or do you know what I mean? Like that it's actually dog meat, like a dog's body. And like, but we don't know. And he gives off really, really serial killer vibes. Like it could lead to a whole Finn Kelly situation.
Yeah,
We
I
don't
think
know.
we need to know like where he's come from and like because
We don't know
the fact
anything
that
about him.
he suddenly appeared.
At least with Chelsea and her psychoness, we kind of see where her motives are.
Yeah,
Essentially, she wants Paul's money
yeah,
because she wants money. And
yeah.
we know that she's the sister of a very nice family, right? You know, we can see that. We don't necessarily need to know about all of her, but we know nothing about Haz. We don't
No.
know any friends from his past. We don't know any family from his past. We don't know what he worked as before. Has he always been a coffee, you know, into being a barista? We don't know anything about him.
Apart from the fact
That's
that he's got a sister coming into the show at some
yeah.
point.
We know that, but in terms of right now, how it looks, we don't know
Yeah,
anything about him.
it's just all a bit
It's
odd,
all
isn't it?
shady, all shady. And to be honest, he's giving serial killer vibes. And if they're not thinking about doing this, then they should. I think they should be turn it into Midsummer Murders or something, and like let them kill everyone, you know, and replenish the cast members. Go on, do that. We haven't actually had that before, have we? Serial killer on the loose.
No. Anyway, right. So final thing we'll talk about. I'm not going to talk about Mel because that was just a little blip this week with Mel, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Storylines, but it wasn't
I mean,
anything.
it was cute the fact that Alan was like, no, I literally it just goes to show you shouldn't assume and just ask outright because it was literally rental places circled by
But
someone
he,
else. He
yeah,
just took the
exactly.
paper for the crossword. So yeah, no, that was sweet.
Anyway, so Felix and JJ.
Hmm.
Obviously, going back to what I said before, obviously, JJ's lied for Felix to say that give him an alibi for why Harold's was trashed. Um, the Cara and Remy have been like, we don't want you spending time with him. But JJ overhears Felix's plans to rob the building site and to leave. JJ has obviously asked Felix to stick around. And you know, Felix is kind of like, oh, like I don't really want to get involved in it, kind of thing. But JJ then tries to give Felix money so that he doesn't go away. Um, and in the meantime, JJ is obviously really like off at school and stuff, and they're like, what is going on with him? And Andrew says, well, Felix actually was the one that could really get something out of JJ. So why just not let him see him again? So Cara and Remy agree, and JJ's like, yay, I get to see him again, be friends with him again. Um, and Slade appears on the building site, and JJ's like, what's he doing here? Why are you teaming up with him? He
Hmm.
says, "I can't, you know, do it alone, etc." But obviously, in the meantime, Cara and Remy see Slade and obviously do a citizen's arrest. So it leaves for poor Felix, well, not poor Felix, but it leaves Felix by himself, unable to do this job by himself, basically. So obviously, JJ offers his services. All this meantime, it's that whole thing of like, oh, I want to keep you close, but you're my son. I don't want to hurt you.
Hmm.
Oh, actually, I need your help. And it's just that kind of like, you know, push and pull
Oh.
between Felix and JJ. Now, Holly is talking of Felix. Holly's obviously had her issues with them at the party. and again runs into him in Harold's, and he spills his coffee over her book. Um, he does actually quite a sweet thing,
Hmm.
goes and picks up a new copy of it and apologizes, but he puts the map of the site into the book and doesn't realize he's left it there, which then gets handed to Holly. And when they have that really cute moment between Mel and Carl and the records falling on the
Hmm.
floor, the book falls on the floor and she finds the map and
Hmm.
obviously ends up putting two and two together. It goes to Andrew. Um, Now Andrew interrupts Felix and JJ um robbing the place basically. JJ makes a silly mistake and decides, oh, I'll get in the van and try to drive it away, and knocks the scaffolding over and it lands on Andrew, ultimately ending, him under the scaffolding, etc. The bit that made me laugh is like Felix goes, phone an ambulance, JJ. Run away from here, phone an ambulance. And he goes to Andrew and he's like, it's okay, you'll be okay. And Andrew obviously looks up and sees Felix's face to know that he was the one that
Hmm.
did it. Within 30 seconds, there is an ambulance that comes around the
Hmm.
corner. I was like, an ambulance does not come that
Yeah.
quickly. How did he just rang the ambulance? And then all of a sudden, there's an ambulance there. How did that happen?
Manifestation.
Yeah. So obviously we'll get on to the bits that have come on since then, since Andrew's been in hospital. But like, yeah, what are your feelings on this whole like back and forth with JJ and Felix and him wanting to, you know, stick around and stuff like that?
It's frustrating though because like Felix does actually try to stay away from JJ. It's JJ that keeps coming in, keeps coming back, keeps coming back. And actually when they find out that you're probably going to mention it later, but
Yeah.
that they're related.
Yeah.
Um
Dun, dun, dun.
da, da, da,
Like you
um
didn't know.
well Remy's like, well, that's the attraction. That usually is what happens, like the biological pull. And Jada just keeps finding himself just drawn to him, just drawn to him. And Felix is, maybe not so hard, but trying to go, step back. Um, but then he also does want to know his son.
I think he
So
genuinely does want
yeah,
to actually get to know him.
but he knows he's not good enough.
But the problem is, like, he was like, I'm going to come out of prison. I'm going to go on the straight and narrow. I'm going to live with Andrew, sort myself out, etc., etc. But obviously, he owes these people some money. But instead of going to Andrew and being like, oh, actually, I owe these guys loads of money,
Yeah.
just go straight back into your old ways again.
Hmm.
And it's like,
Yeah.
like, what is the point? But yeah, anyway. So Andrew obviously sees JJ in the hotel, not hotel, hospital, and like, JJ, I know what you've done. And obviously JJ runs away. Um, Wendy finds Felix's bag, and she finds the diary
Hmm.
pages from the book.
Hmm.
And she's like, why I've got these, and she obviously ends up putting two and two together. Felix shows her the mole on his birthmark on his back and says, JJ's actually got an identical one. So they then obviously then have to end up telling Cara and Remy. And Cara and Remy obviously have to go and find him and tell him that he needs to obviously face the consequences. And it's left on the fact that they're like about to tell him basically that
Hmm.
Felix is
Hmm.
dead.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's another big thing that's about to kind of
Yeah.
happen. Like where what's JJ going to do with that information, because you see Cara and Remy in the car being like, that one decision that I made back then
Hmm.
like caused all of this, and
Hmm.
like my child's father is a criminal, like how's that now going to impact him, and like you
Hmm.
know he's been waiting so long to find out who his dad is,
Hmm.
but now we don't want him to be involved with his dad. So it's going to be a really interesting dynamic to see whether JJ actually still wants to pursue a
Yeah.
relationship with him, or
I
whether
mean,
he
he's probably gonna feel a bit like let down because it's like, well, you've come into my life trying to befriend me almost and helping me out and supporting me, but then you've not told me. So why have you been hanging around with this secret and not saying anything? So I think he's going to feel a little bit disappointed, a little bit let down. Um, but I'm hoping that Felix would be able to see to let him know that it wasn't so easy as just going, oh hi, I'm your dad. It's a little bit more sensitive than that.
Yeah. No, definitely. I have to say, the hospital's been used quite a few times in the
Yeah, it's
last
good.
week. I just
Yeah,
realised
like seeing the
I was like,
shot from outside, the
yeah.
standard shot from outside where
It's
you
like,
see the
oh,
emergency.
Chris
Yeah,
has been in hospital.
yeah,
Andrew's been in hospital.
yeah, yeah.
God, we were moaning the other week that we never saw the hospital
Well,
anymore.
we never saw Carl in the hospital.
It's true. Going back to
That's all I
last
cared
week,
about.
if you watched last week's, 2 weeks ago's, podcast,
Yeah.
you'll see we did Alan Fletcher. Just go back and watch that one. Yeah. Anyway.
Right, so come on then, Lauren. Let's discuss these men and why.
Okay. Woo-hoo. So number 5 for me, and bear in mind, I've actually taken my men from the last 12 years. Okay, so we're going back to 2012 when they obviously released these episodes. So my 5 is Ned. Now, I know you probably don't agree with this because we've spoken about this before. You're not a massive Ned fan. And
Well,
there
it's not that I'm not a Ned fan. I think when he first came to Ramsey Street, I didn't quite like him. And then when he went away and he came back, I guess he kind of got
yeah,
a little bit older and a little bit more rugged.
yeah,
Um, like he's not in my top 5, but not bad.
yeah. So mine is like, I like a bit of bad boy. Like, so Ned's a bit of bad boy. He's got tattoos and maybe a little bit shallow, but he's got a nice body as well. And I just think, yeah, like you said, he has made a lot of like progress. Um, and I think I just know, I just really got to like him when he was all tangled up with the whole Scarlet scenario and like,
Yeah,
um, just,
really good
yeah,
storylines.
yeah, he just kind of, hey, yeah, I don't know, I just really liked him. Anyway, I'll have more to say about other people, but yeah, Jed was on my 5. Um, so next one, I know you like this one. Was Ben. So Ben Kirk, is that right? Is
Yeah,
that his surname? Ben Kirk.
yeah.
Now, um, this is a bit wrong for both of you of us to even like really like him
I mean,
because
I think for me, Ben would be higher on my list, but so I'm maybe more of a perv than you
He's
are.
definitely more of a perv than I am. Because like he was when he was in the program was not of an age where it was really okay for us to actually be fancying him.
Well, he's
But
what, like 10 years younger than me, so yeah, that's kind of how, like the actual actor,
yeah,
that's how wrong it is.
so
And
yeah, so
he'd be
Felix.
playing younger as well,
Yeah,
so even
yeah.
more
So
wrong.
Felix Mallard, Ben Kirk. Um, yeah. He I don't know, just anyone that can play guitar and sing.
Oh my God.
Like you
The way
like
that boy shreds, I'm not even joking. Like, I mean, if you've watched Felix in Ginny and Georgia, you'll
yes.
know exactly what we mean.
Yeah.
Like that boy has skills.
Hmm.
Um, but it's just also, I think, the moodiness, isn't it? He's
Yeah.
got a broody, and he's a lovely guy in like the actual character. He's a
Yeah.
lovely boy, but it's also he's got this kind of broody thing going on.
And do you know what it is?
Um,
It's the like back then, the old curtain style
well,
hairstyle,
yeah, it's like,
like
we're 90s kids
the long
really,
hair.
so we love a bit of curtains, to be
I
honest.
think
So
that's coming back into fashion now.
it
So
is actually, yeah.
yeah. So curtains, bring the curtains back, boys. We like them. Um, number 3, and I know this is not probably going to be on your top because well,
I can 100% appreciate it, but yeah, I mean, you continue and I'll give my
is Pierce. So Tim Robards, but obviously Pierce number 1,
number
not Pierce.
one. Definitely Pierce number one.
The Pierce number 1.
No offense to Pierce number two, but you're not even in like the top 100.
Now,
Sorry.
I don't even know what it is about him. Now, I say I like a bad boy, but I also like a man in a suit who like
Yeah, but he's a gentleman though.
yeah, and I think it's because
Old
he's
school
like
gentleman.
but he was yeah, but I don't know, it's gonna sound really bad, but like with his money and how
Hmm.
he was generous with his money and the fact that
Hmm.
he treat Chloe like a
Yeah,
princess
yeah,
and really look after her.
yeah.
And obviously I didn't agree with him when he obviously had the affair with Dippy,
Yeah.
but
But
like,
that was Pierce too. Sorry,
yeah,
that was mainly Pierce too.
it
So
started off as Pierce one,
yeah, but it went
even
Pierce too.
but even after that, obviously when he went away and then came back, obviously when um for Mac and Hendrix's wedding, and then Mac, and then obviously Hendrix passing away, like I almost just like forgave him because I was like, oh, none of that fair stuff happened because it's Pierce, and it's
Yeah.
just, yeah, he's just, there's, I remember vividly the scene where oh my God, what's her name? Sheila's daughter.
Oh, Naomi.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when she obviously realizes that she knows Pierce, and she goes up to the swimming pool or whatever, and
Yeah.
Pierce is in the swimming pool like swimming, and he like gets out and he's just all
Oh my
like,
God. I'm
and I
sorry.
was just
His
like,
body, he's an Adonis. Literally.
it's a little bit too muscly for me. Like I like it, but it's a little bit too like, maybe like you like got a mix between, oh no, I can't even talk about them because they're my next two, but like,
The thing is, for me with Pierce, why he wouldn't be on my top five, like Pierce number one. Um, just to be clear. Um,
I love
sorry to
that we
Pierce
even
number
have to
two.
say that. Sorry, I don't even know what his name is, but
Sorry,
but
Pierce number two.
yeah, Tim
But
Gods.
no, like he is. I do love his, yeah, the money side of things, but also that he's generous with it, the way he treats Chloe. He's just, I don't know, he's very nice as well.
Mm,
Like he's just, you know, the way he treated like Carl and Susan, for example, for looking after Hendrix. Like he's always been very courteous, polite,
I
good
think that's the thing
manners.
because when he first came in, you didn't realize he had a son or a daughter for that fact. And then he obviously had a lot of things to make up for in
Mm,
Hendrix's life.
mm,
And I think he proved himself as a father as well
yeah,
as a husband. And I think I have a real affinity and real love for men that can be good fathers, basically.
yeah,
So yeah, I really liked
yeah.
that.
He wouldn't be in my top five because he's a gorgeous, good looking man. Oh my God. He's literally actually the perfect, if you can think of the perfect man, like he would be the perfect man, like looks wise.
Yeah.
He has a great body and he works so hard to maintain that. Like
Yeah.
kudos. But but it's almost too much for me, right?
Yeah.
So
You
as
wouldn't know
much
how to handle it.
no, I wouldn't. And I think I can appreciate that he's a very, very, very good looking man, very, very fit man. And I
Yeah.
can 100% understand why, because we've got friends that actually Pierce number one is their number one.
Yeah.
And I completely understand it, completely, but he's almost just too fit for me.
Yeah. So this is why I'm going to go for like my number two and my number one.
Hmm.
Like, although these two are both fit, they're the right amount of fit.
Yeah. It's like more,
Like,
it's more next door, guy next
oh no, thumbs up there.
yeah,
So
guy next door vibes.
yeah, my number two is Jack.
Hmm.
Jack Callahan. Now, it almost feels wrong for me to like him, but there's something about a priest
Don't
doing
even start me.
something that he shouldn't be doing.
Don't start me off. We're talking about fantasies now,
So
guys.
fucking hot. Like when he like, I don't even know what it is. Obviously, when he first comes in, he doesn't know who the fuck he is. And then you realise he walks out, he
But it's
discovers,
but it's also the fact that obviously we love Paige. It's just the
yeah,
fact that Paige is trying her hardest to like break down barriers and he's just so godly. And so like, no, no, no. But it's not like a rejection. It's like a
no,
no, but I'm married to God. And it's like, oh my God,
but
like,
you're not though.
oh my God. But I know that you do like me, but you're just so loyal
Mm.
to
I
the
think that
profession.
again, that's it, isn't it? Going back to what we were saying about Pierce and about him being a family man. Jack was so loyal to like his beliefs and stuff.
Yeah,
And I love that about, I love someone
yeah,
who
that
like
was hot. Yeah,
yeah, loyal to like, their truths and their morals, etc.
yeah,
But then when he realizes he actually is like, no, I cannot stay away from this woman any longer.
Yeah.
And they go to the cabin and they have
Yeah.
sex for the first time, and how it's Gabe is
Yeah.
obviously conceived. I was literally just like, I was
Yeah.
so excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we love Paige as well. But yeah, Jack for me, I just yeah.
Very
Mm,
nice. Yeah, I
yes.
mean, I've definitely got a thing for the whole priest thing. Like, if you know Fleabag, and Andrew Scott playing the hot priest, like that whole scenario, it's like the forbidden fruit thing. And spoiler, the hot priest does sleep with Fleabag, but then that's it.
It's
That's
almost it's almost the opposite of the bad boy thing that I was talking about with Ned.
completely,
Affinity for the bad boy, but then
yeah,
it's always like, oh, but the vicar's being naughty now.
yeah, yeah,
Like, it's the
yeah,
good
no.
boys being naughty. Like
Yeah,
he's
I,
just
I love the good boy being naughty. 100%, that's my thing. Yeah.
okay. Like drum roll, please. We don't even need to
I
be
mean,
like
roll the eyes.
number one, do we? We've talking about we've spoken about it before. I don't even need to say it. My voice is going so high pitched. That's how excited I am. Mark Brennan.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. Number one, Mark Brennan. Like, where do we start with Mark Brennan? Like, he's just like number one, policeman. Number two,
Yes.
the outfits.
Yeah.
Like number three, the like you said, guy next door,
Hmm.
family man, wants to
Hmm.
have children, wants the perfect marriage. Uh, number five, I don't even know what I was going to say. Oh, the body. Number five, the body.
Yes. Yeah, but it's not just the body, it's also the face. Like, he's gorgeous. He's literally gorgeous.
I don't think he
Oh,
realizes how good looking he is.
oh my God, it's just that smile.
No,
Mm, yeah.
like Scott, if you're listening.
Scott, we'd love to have you on, although we'd probably be like giddy schoolgirls.
Literally, like we're like it now. Like how we would be able to get
Oh,
through a freaking conversation with
dear
him. It's
me.
like,
You just have to
yeah,
smile and we'll be like,
yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, Mark Brennan, like, didn't love some of his relationships, not gonna lie.
Well,
Didn't
it just feels like, we're like, team Paige and Mark all the way, but they only got a short time together.
yeah,
Obviously, off camera, we're imagining them in Adelaide
they're
or wherever they
together.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they're together, but we haven't actually seen much of them together on
No,
screen.
I feel
But
like
yet we've seen some really bad relationship choices, some weird crushes, like with Sonia. Like, yeah.
I have to say though, him and Roxy was quite hot.
I mean, the thing is, for me, Roxy's like a second page, really. So that
Like,
blonde version, yeah,
yeah.
like,
So yeah, their choices of people they put him with. Yeah. We will always be like, no, why are you putting her with him?
yeah.
Like he
But
deserves
the
so
thing
much
is,
better.
so this is what's funny about our number one and number two. So Steph getting with Mark, that was wrong. But then you put Jack and Steph together, way more wrong. Like that should
No,
never
no,
have even
no,
happened.
no, no, no,
Like,
no, no,
how
no.
can you put someone that's been in prison and
With this
also
kind
has mental health issues with
yeah,
someone so innocent and so dedicated to God? Like that, nah,
just
did not like that.
just very odd. Yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah.
Anyway, that's, yeah. I mean, in terms of my top five, it wouldn't be that much different. Um, Not sure because there's three definite. So mine would definitely have Mark, Jack, and Ben.
Hmm.
But I'm not really sure what the other two would be. I think one of them would be Tad from way back in the day. He was my first proper crush on Neighbours. But then I guess you could say Billy as well. But Billy was kind of like a Pierce for me in that I could totally see why the girls loved him. Like,
Yeah,
he was so cute. He's still cute,
yeah,
but like, it's not my guy.
yeah.
Whereas Tad, he wasn't actually the best looking guy at all by far, but he was my guy.
Oh, this is the one. Joel.
Oh, now you're getting into territory.
We were going back.
Mm,
Like Joel when he came back recently,
yeah.
I
I
was like,
mean,
oh my
yeah.
God, you're
Daniel
fit.
Daniel McPherson is a bit of top totty. Yeah, I'd have to think about the fifth one for that because around that time there were so many hotties coming through.
Mm,
Um, so I mean, it's why I, as a teenager was watching it.
yeah.
But yeah,
Anyway,
I have to think about that.
number one will always
Yeah,
be him.
number one will always remain.
Yeah. Mark Brennan, yeah.
Hmm. Well, we all know and agree with your number one.
Yeah. I mean, how could you not? How could you not?
Yeah, let's not get started again. I mean, we've done it before, but we don't have all day, and we would be here all day,
Literally,
I think.
we would be here all day if we carried on talking about Mark Brennan. Okay, guys. Anyway, let's calm ourselves down after that. Of my top five men. And yeah, I think that's literally all we have got time for today. Honestly, thank you so much again for listening as always.
Yeah, we are always so grateful, and we have lots more exciting episodes planned for you. And we'll see you again soon.
Bye, guys.